Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rattlesnake and it is finally, after a while, race weekend! Yay! As many of you may know, the Miami Grand Prix is just around the corner this weekend. Maybe, we'll get into that in a bit. But I figured, while we're here, we may as well cover the April break. Now, a lot of things have happened during this April break and I've taken some notes. I haven't gotten everything, so if I've missed something important, please let me know. Leave it in the comments so I can cover it in the next video, but I would like to give a quick shout out to everybody who watched my Japanese Grand Prix video. Thank you so much for watching and commenting, and for all of the new subscribers, welcome. Thank you so much. It's really awesome that you decided to check out the channel and hit subscribe. It was pretty sick. But I've got my notes here. So let's get into it. I did mention the maybe not happening. So if for those of you who don't know, and I'm glad I waited a day to film this, Miami may or may not be going ahead. Listen, don't get all doomer on me, but because of the heavy thunderstorm warnings, the Sunday race may or may not be able to run. If you haven't been to Florida, if you don't know their weather situation, Florida has some pretty intense thunderstorms it experiences being in a tropical location. So, Miami being in Florida. They are unsure whether or not the actual Grand Prix itself, race day, Sunday, can go ahead. At the moment, it's looking like it's not, but that was, 8 hours ago when I first heard about this. So, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I guess we'll see. Fingers crossed it will actually run, because it's pretty important. It's, as you know, we've had 4 weeks off from racing, so it's kind of important that we have it, and then there's another 3 weeks after, so it'd be nice to see. But besides that, we do have something pretty big, pretty important: the new regulation changes, or rather the updates to the regulations. I have them printed out.
I have it printed out.
Or rather, just written down, as I couldn't be bothered getting them printed because ours is not working, it's a whole thing. But I've written them down. I'm not going to pretend I am some racing expert when it comes to the technicalities of it. There are plenty of channels who have covered all of this, who have gone into depth about what each detail means, but just the brief overview. So these are 3 main changes when it comes to the power unit, the power issues that we've been seeing in the past 3 races. So, first off the bat is the maximum recharge is now 7 megajoules, I believe, as opposed to 8 megajoules. Again, I'm not sure that MJ stands for megajoules, but we'll see. To encourage more flat-out racing rather than recharging the battery constantly. In addition to that, the super clip power has been increased to 350 kilowatts as compared to the 250 kilowatts it was, which, again, reduces the time spent recharging to encourage more time for flat-out racing that we would have seen in years prior. I know that a lot of people complained in the ground effect era that there was too much time spent with DRS trains, and that is true. With the super clipping and the recharging, we do see, a bit of change to that. But we still have active aero, so I don't know if there's much of a change. Cars are a little bit higher, but yeah. The other thing is alternative lower energy limits have now been allowed at 12 races rather than the 8 that they were, allowing for more change and better adaptation to different circuits. So I guess we'll see across the calendar, higher, lower energy limits. I'm not exactly sure what that means. Again, I don't have a degree in, engineering, mechanical engineering, and I don't know about cars that much. I know about the racing side of things from the racer's perspective. Anyway, I'm no expert. Let's be clear. But moving on to all of the other silly season, as it were, because it's technically just another April break. Some people have been calling it spring break, April break, who knows. Let's get the big one out of the way. Tax evasion. So all of the drivers are going to jail, except for the Italian ones and the Italian teams. Let me be clear. The drivers are not being arrested, they are being forced to pay their taxes on the money earned within Italian Grand Prix. Because we've had 2 in the previous seasons, on all of the drivers haven't exactly paid all of the money And it's not just the drivers, it's the teams as well, because the Italian government is really cracking down on money earned within their country. The Australian Grand Prix does it, a few other countries do, but, you know, they're really trying to crack down on it. And any unpaid taxes for non-citizens, which, I don't know, you guys, seems like a bit of a coincidence, get into that, will result in jail time, which for a lot of them is a lot of, you know, a lot of them don't pay taxes. There's quite a few drivers reside in Monaco. For if you didn't know this, Monaco is a tax-free haven. They don't require income tax to be paid, which is why a lot of the drivers live there. Now, a lot of the drivers will also say they live there because of the history of Monaco, which, to be fair, it is a pretty important part of the sport. Monaco and the Monaco Grand Prix is like the crown jewel of Formula One, as well as, you know, someone like Ayrton Senna being the king of Monaco, which is hilarious given the fact that we now have a Monegasque driver, Prince of Monaco. I don't know why he's not the king. I guess you only win Monaco once, but it's also his home Grand Prix, so who knows, maybe he might win it again this year. Maybe. But no, I think it's really funny that, and a bit of a coincidence that the Italian government has a realization, we have an Italian leading the championship, and you know what? Ferrari's looking good. The only way to force this to happen, if we can make an Italian win the championship and bring glory back to Ferrari, is to arrest everyone else. It'll be an all-out Ferrari battle. But now the question remains, will they prioritize getting Kimi to be the youngest champion ever, and to be an Italian champion, or will they finally bring glory back to Ferrari and give it to Charles Leclerc? Now, Il Predestinato, they love him, but they love Kimi more. Maybe. We'll see. All jokes aside, nobody's going to jail, they're just going to pay more money, which they probably should be doing anyway. Obviously, if you don't know what... Okay. The next thing on the list is blind items, and if you don't know what these are, they're basically just rumoured celebrity gossip that's been confirmed by somebody in the industry. There's been a few of them out about F1 drivers in the past week or so. One of them's actually weird and insane, and possibly about an ex-driver, as people figured out that when it came out and when the event would have happened, as I'm not talking about it because it's not YouTube safe, but look it up, it's weird. It's something to do with helium. Take a squiz at that. But people figured out that during the time of this event taking place, none of the drivers would have been doing it, so it would have been an ex-driver. Our money is being thrown about because somebody said legendary, so we don't know. But then there's the other one about, you know, one of the drivers not being a family man and like trying to put this reputation. I don't really care for celebrity gossip, but it was just a big part of what happened this month. I don't know, I'm filming on the last day of the month. Who knows? Kim K as well. Are Lewis and Kim Kardashian actually formally together? Have they just been hanging out in a fashion sense? Are they, you know, dating? What's the go? Who knows? Is it a cover up for something bigger? I'm not gonna pretend. I'm not gonna say. No. But this is onto a more serious note. I know that the other ones have been jokey and the regs have been an important part, but for anybody who missed it, the 24-hour of Nürburgring qualifying happened 2 weeks ago, and quite sadly, quite tragically, there was a fatal crash. Juha Mittinen, I believe his name is. I don't know how to pronounce it. I did try to look it up, but it wouldn't give me a straight answer whether or not that is how you pronounce it. Either way, unfortunately, the 66-year-old driver, in his 60s, did pass away being transported to hospital. It is a very awful situation, and, you know, Nürburgring is an awful place. It's quite a deadly place. Why this has to do with Formula One is quite a sad thing, to be honest. Because of the clickbaity nature of this sport, because of how popular it is, you know, newspapers will use anything to get a click, any words in their headlines to make you be interested in it. And, well, it just so happened that Max Verstappen was also competing at the same race. I would like to note, He was not even in the car at the time of the crash. He was not driving. He was supervising because it's his racing team. Verstappen got home, it's his racing team, and they are competing the 24 hours of the Nürburgring. This was in qualifying, I believe. But a lot of the newspapers made it sound like Max was in the crash, Max caused the crash, you know, he didn't comment on it, this, that, and the other. He did comment on it, obviously, and a lot of people did have their tributes to Mittinen the next day on their cars. It's an awful thing to happen. Unfortunately, it does happen in the world of motorsports, as it is quite a high-risk sport. High-risk industry does sometimes have this, and what those newspapers did was horrendous. A similar thing happened 2 days ago. Jos Verstappen, Max Verstappen's father, was in quite a serious crash in a rally car, but they didn't always name that it was him. They just used Verstappen, which, to be fair, is his name, but it was to get people to click on the headline. Using people's names, especially that big a name, to talk about an incident they were not even involved in, or to shift blame onto that, is awful. But the biggest crime I feel about this 24 hours thing was half of the headlines, half of the articles themselves didn't even name the driver, or very barely name the driver. That is what got me. Somebody passes away and they don't even have the decency to talk about who they were and what actually happened. That is awful. That is appalling. We have to do better as a community. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm like some high-level reporter, but it's still my job on this channel to report the facts. And the facts are, this is what happened. Plain and simple. Say his name, say the story, tell the truth. Don't use people's names to get clicks. Moving on. We've had a lot of Red Bull exits for all of our Red Bull fans. Yay! Jean-Pierre Lambiase, also known as GP, Max's race engineer, is leaving Red Bull at the end of 2027. His contract will be renewed with McLaren as their head of racing, overtaking Andrea Stella's current job. It is believed because Zach Brown may be taking a step back from the formal side of the racing world, allowing Andrea Stella to actually be CEO, team principal. Their whole dynamic is odd, but that is what's happening. In more lighthearted and quite possibly good news, Turkey is returning to the calendar as a replacement, I believe, for Zandvoort, as it is having its last race this year. We are excited to see it because it is a permanent track, I believe. I will check. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But yay! It's nice to see more tracks coming to the calendar, cycling in different countries that we haven't returned to. The last time it was raced, I believe, was 2020, when it was a replacement for something else. There are a few other things that I had remembered halfway through the video, then didn't go through it, but this video is quite getting long. Audi released a video, like an ad for hotels that just made it look like Nico Hülkenberg and Gabriel Bortoletto were dating. It's weird, it's hilarious, go check it out. Anyway, that is all of my notes on the April break. There are so many things I know I've missed, but please, you know, tell me what I've missed. Let me know what your thoughts are for Miami, and hope that it goes ahead. And sorry for the serious note in the middle of the video, but it is something that means a lot to me. As somebody who does this, it just doesn't seem right, and I thought I should talk about it. But yeah, have a great time, and I will see you after sprint. Peace.